Hello, habari, bonjour, salam, and welcome to the Africa Power Hour. I'm your host, Nadia Abdallah, an impact-driven leader, a Pan-African, and a mental health advocate. The Africa Power Hour is a Pan-African visual storytelling network where we discuss everything to do with innovation, sustainability, growth for the Africa we want. On today's episode, I am so excited to have Firyal Nur back on the seat. Now, a few months ago, we had Firyal on My Truth Is podcast, and we needed to have her back on our visual storytelling platform. Now, Firyal Nur is a visionary, entrepreneur, cultural ambassador, and advocate for sustainable business practices. Recently, graced our sister podcast, Truth Is, with her inspiring insights. Now today, she joins us on the Africa Power Hour to delve even deeper into her remarkable journey. Firyal, welcome.
Thank you, Nadia. It's such a pleasure to be back here.
Such a pleasure to have you. Now, if you could just share with our audience, who is Firyal, what is she about, and what's that one unique thing about you?
Amazing. My name is Firyal Nur. I'm the founder of the Never Underrepresented, or Nur Agency. I play in a lot of different spaces, also in fashion, through the brand Nur and Nur Black Label. One unique thing about me, I am a very curious mind. I love learning. I am constantly on the search for new information, new experiences, and just understanding new cultures and new spaces. Yeah.
Awesome. I think that's a very unique thing. Because I feel like in our today's age, everyone is so comfortable with what they have and what they know. So for you to want to know more and to be curious, I think that's a plus.
I love it.
So I want us to get into the conversation, and I'll start off by the African narrative.
Sure.
Let's reimagine it, okay? Mm-hmm. So on Truth Is, you spoke about challenging stereotypes and shaping narratives. How do you see your work specifically contributing to redefining Africa's narrative on a global stage?
You know, I've been so blessed to have so many different work experiences and personal experiences across different continents. I've had the pleasure of working with, for, and under so many incredible, great minds through my career. And so being able to bring some of that expertise, those skills and that knowledge back home to help build a stronger and hopefully more sustainable industry is really what my goal is. I think we have so many people in the diaspora on the continent who are doing incredible things. And I think figuring out how to plug and play into a contextualized African narrative is really where the magic is, and something that I aim to do through every single thing, every project, every interaction.
So when it comes to the global stage and all the opportunities you have, what unique challenges and opportunities as well do you encounter? Because I'm pretty sure there are quite a number.
Absolutely. There are definitely as many challenges as there are opportunities in this space. I think, we have an incredibly interesting and dynamic industry here, but it's also one that in some ways is both very young and very ancient at the same time. And so sometimes, when it comes to exposure, when it comes to finding collaborators to share your vision and to share also your standards and expectations in terms of like output and a quality product, it can be a little bit tricky. You really need to understand how to collaborate with people also who might see things differently than what we're used to in more fast-paced industries like New York or Paris or London. But I think, with those challenges also comes a lot of learning opportunities, a lot of opportunities for us to reimagine how to do things in a way that works within the African context. I think the opportunities are quite obvious to me, actually. It always surprises me when they're not obvious to other people, because, we're talking about a continent that not only has an incredibly young population, but an incredibly skilled one as well. with so many audiences that are yet to be really engaged with fully, yet to be tapped into fully. And so I think just the opportunity to explore those markets from within is kind of the most exciting part of that journey. And yeah, I think the challenges are beautiful. It just allows us to continue shaping things in a way that works for us.
Yeah. And speaking of unique challenges or opportunities, so Nur Agency, I see it as it's an opportunity that you, how do you say it, you grabbed and you embraced. And so I want us to talk about that in the context of a catalyst for African talent. And so the Nur Agency is clearly a passion about showing Africa's potential. So, I mean, for those who don't know, can you share some success stories of how you've helped an African talent break barriers and gain recognition from this particular agency?
Definitely the Nur Agency is a passion project. It was also very much a non-negotiable in my career path. I always knew I was going to come home and start something, build a platform here that would allow for bridges to be built between some of these spaces outside of the continent and, you know, back here at home. I think we've had so many different success stories. I would say that, you know, both on a granular level and on a macro level, I definitely look at being able to empower some of the different team members and collaborators we worked with as success stories. Just being able to create platforms where people can bring their vision and their ideas front and center and have that be visible on a global stage is the ultimate success for us. I would say on a more like traditional level, you know, we've definitely been able to bring a different energy to certain projects. I would say one of our most recent ones is actually in the hospitality space, which, you know, as much as, you know, it is a creative industry, at least for me, it's not always considered as such. One of our clients is actually based in the Masai Mara, huge sustainability advocates doing incredible work in conservancy, Loiri and Mara. And by working with them, we've been able to establish a brand that allows for creative collaboration in the work that they do. So, you know, how do we creatively storytell around the impact that they have, both on a community level, on a sustainability level, in terms of their natural environment and biodiversity, and how do we do so in a way that resonates with people who may have never set foot in the Masai Mara? We know that's one of our national treasures, but you know, whether one is able to experience it or not in person, I think, you know, we've definitely been able to reach broader audiences and share more on what we do and educate people also on the incredible work that's being done to preserve one of the actual 7 natural wonders of the world.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And you touched on storytelling. So how has Nur Agency pivoted on storytelling or used it to redefine what people understand by sustainability in the creative industry, but also as Africa as a whole?
Storytelling is a part of everything we do.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, you know, there's so many different touch points to storytelling. It might be how you interact with a social media page or a website or a product, or even like the client experience in engaging with some of the different brands that we work with. You know, I think ultimately the goal is for someone to be able to see a bit of themselves in the stories that we want to tell, right? And also learn something new about, you know, X project.
Yeah.
So storytelling is critical to everything. We always try and have like a black thread running through our projects. So not looking at just like unique instances of telling a story, but how do you actually, you know, even tell stories sometimes without saying anything, right? Yeah. Ultimately, you know, storytelling is also about feelings and, emotions and desire and the many different like innately human experiences that we all have everywhere, no matter where we're from. So we really try and keep in mind, the different audiences we engage with. We really try and push the limit. It's such a meaningful, catchphrase for us because, so many people are ultimately, perhaps siloed or not always, given the opportunity to be front and center and be represented to, the max of their ability. And so we really try and be the voice for that too. All of our projects are ones that are driven by impact. That is the deciding factor for us. So it's really important how we showcase the people behind some of the projects, how we showcase the impact, and how we storytell around, just the incredible work that other people are doing. We're really just their catalyst.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And being a voice, I see it as being as equivalent to being a leader, because the voiceless are unable to talk to people about the different things that are there or shed light on the most pertinent things or issues in Africa. And so I want us to get into the Pan-African leadership conversation, more so in inspiring the next generation. And my question to you would be, what advice would you give to young Africans aspiring to make a difference in their communities and on their continent in the same way that you are doing or even more?
I mean, I love that question because I think in 2024, there are just so many different means of spreading messages, of having, platforms, of having a voice. I think a lot of times people get a little bit caught up in the idea that you need to amass like a huge social media following for you to have an impact, right? Everybody has an opinion and an idea about how things work.
Agreed.
And whether you're sharing that opinion with your, immediate circle, within your family, your friends, your colleagues, or whether you're sharing it on public platforms to audiences that, are ultimately a bit unknown to you, right? I think, in all of those different scenarios, the impact is equivalent, right? So I guess my advice to people who, are willing to share their opinion is to really do so in the way that is the most natural and the most comfortable and the most organic to you. Whether it's having conversations, whether it's posting a video, whether it's, joining an initiative, volunteering time, or infusing your business with it. Again, creativity is something that can be applied to every single, industry, every single aspect of life. Everything is by design. And so, even if you're in a field that, let's say, doesn't fall under the traditional creative categories, I think try and think about how you can bring your own kind of secret sauce into the mix, how you can make a difference through the work that you do and, the community that you're from.
Yeah. And speaking of, what practical steps do you think young leaders can take to foster connections when it comes to basically connecting the continent, connecting the work that they do, creating change? In your opinion, what are the steps?
I think being open-minded is a big one, a big part of, I think, making a difference or sharing your opinions is also a two-way communication. Being open to receiving as much as you're open to sharing. A lot of times we look for like-minded people to create community, and that's definitely important and critical. But, I would challenge people to really even step outside of that comfort zone and look at how to exchange with people who might also be of a different mindset, or might not be as knowledgeable as you are about certain topics. For instance, in the African context, a lot of times, you might encounter people both, online and in the real world who, don't always have a deep understanding of, of our industries, of our history, of our traditions, of our, ambitions for the future. So I think, having conversations around that, challenging the status quo, proving and showing that things can be different, is really important. And, again, we have so many digital platforms that are just incredible for that. Whether it's Twitter or, places like TikTok that are more visual, or LinkedIn. But I think, as much as you can amplify, as much as you can exchange, and those are definitely the best ways to really build connection with people. And you'd be so surprised by how many people are willing to listen, how many people are willing to engage, and what can come out of some of those conversations too.
I agree. And from our past or our last conversation, innovation is something that came out strong in your conversations. And so, as you know, Africa is a hub of innovation and creativity.
Yes.
What emerging trends or sectors excite you the most? And how do you see them transforming, especially on our continent?
First of all, I think Africa is leading the charge when it comes to innovation around sustainability.
Yeah.
We are inherently sustainable societies. We are inherently impactful societies. The way we view community, and care and exchange and our respect of nature, I think that the world has a lot to learn from us. And I think that paired with some of the innovation we have around tech is extremely exciting.
Okay.
We've seen so many people, young people actually, like students, coming up with solutions to problems that the world has been experiencing for, decades, centuries even.
Yeah.
I recently saw a young gentleman, came up with a technology, for instance, on how to translate ASL, like sign language, into spoken word and vice versa. And, things like that are ultimately what allow us to really, I think, like ascend into a future that is more inclusive, more dynamic, and ultimately more sustainable for every single member of society. So I love seeing like some of the innovation that comes out of some of our young people, especially addressing some of the issues that are, really big topics for us. So I think the world has a lot to learn from African innovation in that space.
So why do you think it's important for technology to amplify African voices in driving progress, especially for the underrepresented community?
I mean, it's incredible what we can achieve with tech. Whether it's through the power of AI, or whether it's through, I guess more traditional technologies, there's so many ways that we can bypass kind of the long and painful periods that it takes for innovation to make change, I think that, tech is something that we've also embraced as a continent. It's been an accelerator for us. It's been a way for us to, leapfrog some of the, different problems and challenges that we've faced. So, bringing tech into, again, almost any industry is a way for us to really, accelerate towards the future that we want, but more importantly, the future that we deserve.
And that's true, because I feel like, or I see how technology plays such a big role when it comes to Africa. And it's really crazy how it's the young Africans, I wouldn't even say young, every African has a way in which they can break through technology.
Yeah.
And my other question would be, why is it that the creative industry hasn't really pivoted on technology as deep as how other countries or continents have done?
I mean, I would argue that we have.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I think it's really striking that delicate balance too. In a lot of creative industries, we look at, you know, kind of the human touch as being, you know, the value addition. Whether it's artisanal workmanship, whether it's somebody's creative eye. But, you know, ultimately, a lot of tech is being used, I would say, to, you know, facilitate how far people can push their creative vision. So, for instance, whether it's like, you know, utilizing editing tools for like film and photography, whether it's, you know, being able to amplify a brand on social media. I've seen so many young entrepreneurs using AI to help facilitate, you know, business plans, for instance, for the creative businesses that they run. I do think that there's still room for growth, you know? There's so many things that I think we're learning how to do, even beyond just the people innovating on that technology, us as users and consumers. I think it's, you know, that cherry picking of trying to figure out what's the right tech for us, how do we use it while, you know, maintaining creative integrity. And that's such a big conversation, but, you know, I hope that we keep finding ways to really address some of the issues that we have, especially in terms of accessibility.
Okay.
You know, a lot of times creatives don't always have the major budgets, especially the independent ones, to be able to hire the many different people you would need to fulfill a project. But I think, you know, just some of the tech that's being made available even on online platforms is really helping us, like, you know,
it is.
build quality products and quality projects, utilizing just some of the innovative stuff that's come out even in the past, like 2-3 years.
That's true. Yeah. And this is it's a very controversial question, but I'm still going to ask it.
Do it.
What is it about Africa that everyone is interested in and excited about? You talk about music, you talk about fashion, you talk about lifestyle, you talk about well-being and innovation. What is it about Africa that other people are seeing that us Africans, or a handful of them, are not seeing? Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the continent has, let's say, traditionally been the underdog in certain spaces, you know? And I believe that there has been a global awakening that's happening about the deep history and culture that we have, cultures, and all the things we can learn from that alone. I think that there's a, you know, awakening also around the market share that we have on a global scale. You know, our economies are really poised to reach $1 trillion figures within the next few years. Again, we have such a young population of consumers. We have so many burgeoning and growing middle classes across the continent, so many opportunities to participate in that. So, you know, one of the slogans that I like to use is, if you don't have an Africa strategy, you don't have a growth strategy. And I really believe that. I think that any brand or company or individual who, you know, is looking to, you know, interact in the global market space and is not considering Africa as one of the, I want to say, top 2 to top 3 major markets worldwide, is not going to be able to sustain their growth over time. You know, and it's almost to our advantage that we get to be the underdog in this scenario, because so many people are aware of what the potential is, what the opportunity is, and are doing incredible things to really actualize that. So yeah, I mean, I think we're at the forefront of leading that charge, and I'm just happy to play a very small role in that bigger picture, because I, have no doubt in my mind that within the next 2, 5, 10, 50, 100 years, the continent as a whole is going to be leading in a lot of different industries.
And I agree. If you don't have an Africa strategy, you have no strategy, or you have no business to be in business.
100%.
100%. So I want to talk about the path forward, and I want to talk about Firyal's vision. I want to know about that. Like, what's your vision for the future of Africa? And how do you see yourself contributing to that vision in the years to come?
Wow, my vision for the future of the continent is I envision it as highly competitive on a global scale. I envision us having our own manufacturing, of having very sustainable supply chains that are completely vertically integrated, meaning that they also support, the grassroots all the way up to the highest tiers of business model. I see us as being prosperous. I see us as being abundant. I see us as being sustainable, and I see us also as leaders in showcasing to the world systems that can run differently, that can be impactful and profitable. And that's something, again, that's so inherent to African society and culture. Nobody is successful without carrying their people with them, right? Like, it's just unheard of to us. So in the future, I see that kind of mindset being applied to larger scale, businesses and industries. And, I'm just so excited to see what's going to come out of that. It's so difficult to talk about the continent as one holistic thing, because as we know, there's so many pockets, there's so many, niches, there's so many cultures, communities. And I think in each of those spaces, there are, stories and ideas that have yet to come to fruition, yet to come to age. And, the stronger our industries are, the easier it is for those people to participate, right? So, my wish and my hope and my vision is that, as our industries continue to grow, they continue to also be inclusive and safe spaces for the many different participants that, will ultimately be a part of it.
Yeah. And I'm just sitting here and I'm listening to you and seeing how you articulate very clearly. You're very intentional with what you're saying and what you're doing. And I just can't help but ask, what inspires Firyal? Where do you get your inspiration from, and what keeps you going?
Ultimately, I think all my inspiration comes from human connection. I love meeting new people. I think if anybody knows me, they know I'm like a chatterbox. I talk to everybody. Like, I'm very, very open to other people's ideas and challenging my own beliefs. I get so inspired from conversations with my friends, as much as with people that I meet, like at a store, or a taxi driver, at an airport, or whatever it is. Like, I just love, getting the chance to spend 10 or 15 minutes with somebody and really get to experience life through their eyes. It also helps me understand sometimes, what areas I need to improve in and what things we could do better, So I'm very, very inspired by people. And also by places. I love traveling. It's a big part of my story too. It fills me up. It gives me different ideas, and I love being able to like think about how to bring those ideas back home, how we could do them better, honestly.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's important.
It's important. But yeah, you know, we're such an interconnected society, and there's just so much that is yet to be done. So I get really inspired by what we could achieve, what we can do, and what the quickest route from like A to B is, right? Yeah.
And what grounds you?
Wow, probably the same. I would say the same.
Yeah.
You know, I also really enjoy spending time in nature.
Okay.
I think like any time that I get too caught up in, you know, like I'm an overthinker. We spoke about this on the podcast. You guys need to check out the podcast. But, you know, I really enjoy being, I really enjoy feeling like a small piece of a much bigger story. And in nature, I find that a lot. You know, just like the grandeur, the perfectness of every single, you know, thing, whether it's like a blade of grass or an animal or a bird. Yeah, so when I get too caught up, definitely my very first thing to do is go literally like, you know, take my shoes off, go walk on some grass and like look up at the sky, because I think ultimately like we're all just playing parts in like a much bigger story. And sometimes it's good to take that pressure off and realize
say that again.
Yeah.
What message of empowerment would you like to leave with our Africa Power Hour audience, especially for those striving to make a difference in their local communities or underrepresented?
I would say my parting words would be: believe your own hype, be your own cheerleader. There is nothing too big or too small that you do to create an impact. You know, don't think that you need to be, you know, leading masses of millions of people on social media. You, with your own unique voice, are creating change. You have the power to transform the world you live in, the community you come from, and believe in it. Believe in it every single day. It's the most critical part. I think it doesn't really matter what, you know, stage of your career you're on, or what stage of your journey you're on. Ultimately, just don't forget that you have the power to create change. Yeah.
That's powerful. And, you know, there you have it. The African Power Hour herself. Very poised, very articulate, and, you know, she has a sense of grounding. And that's the reason why I asked you, like, what grounds you? Because for those who didn't know, like, when we started talking, my anxiety was all over the place. But there's a way in which she was carrying herself and speaking that grounded me to really focus on what we need to do, which was having a conversation. So I think I just want to say thank you first for being on our virtual storytelling platform. You were there on our audio platform, and make sure you follow and listen to her my podcast and her episode. You know, sometimes you have to joke a bit, guys. We can't always be serious. But also, like, just your call to action and your takeaways, all these things, I think our audience is going to really appreciate how honest you are. And I love how you are so, like, grounded by the belief that Africa is bigger than what we see or what people see with us. And one thing that I took away from your conversation was how you feel like a small, I would say, pebble within a whole big canvas.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's really, really empowering, especially for me, who I grew up always believing I'm bigger than everything else, you know. And so that's a takeaway that I'm going to take. Like, sometimes, because I think when you look at yourself as a bigger being, you put so much pressure in yourself.
Yep.
And maybe that's why I have so much anxiety. Also, I'm an overthinker, but I think it's also time to learn how to see yourself as that small pebble that can make just enough difference to create a ripple effect. So
beautifully said.
Yeah. So I appreciate you being here, and I hope that our paths will meet again. I'm sure they will. Maybe a collaboration, a fashion collaboration. I don't know.
I love it.
But I'm looking forward to seeing what the world has in store for you, what you have in store for yourself. And hey, keep the Pan-African spirit burning.
Thank you so much, Nadia, for inviting me here again. It is such a pleasure to be in conversation with you as always, and for also creating spaces for myself and other innovative change makers to come and express themselves and share their ideas. I think this is actually, we spoke about amplification. Yeah. This is such an incredible tool and platform that you're sharing with us. So thank you so much once again, and I can't wait to see what's next. We'll talk about the collaboration after.
Definitely. It's coming.
But it's really an honor, so thank you so much.
You're welcome. So that's it, folks, and make sure you pay attention to our conversations, listen keenly, and pick a thing or two, because you never know, you might be picking something greater than yourself. Till next time, this is Africa Power Hour.